I'm paralyzed, I got difficulty starting. I don't persevere and I lack the joy and my inner critic's barking. I'm way behind my competition, compare myself with the best of them. And yeah, I know that they put in the years, so I scold myself for this petulance. I'm fed up with this sediment that's settled to the depths of me. This lens has teeth, it won't let me see that my ideas have legs like a centipede. Yes, it heavily applies distortion. See, I could alienate myself and others if I express myself without caution. And I don't want to make a move unless it's going to be awesome, like awesome. It's a perfectionist trap that I'm caught in. It's 1 step forward, 10 steps back, and then I dig my claws in. I'm scared of failure, scared of defeat. I'm basically scared of having fun. If I don't know the rhythm, I won't bang the drum, and so I never feel ready when the jam is on. But there will come a day when I'll be dead and gone, and I don't want to go with my song still in me. So I got to change it up. Who's with me? There's a little piece that I wrote a while back. Shout outs to Jill Badonsky and the work of the Kaiser Muse Creativity Coaching, which is where I started my journey in all of this back in, almost 6 years ago when I started training. Now, so I've always been about creating, okay? This has always been for me about creating. How do I create the stuff that I love? How do I bring forward the things that I feel inside me? And that's a creative jam, right? Now, there's a couple of things I want to speak to. Now, the reason I started also with that poem is because there's a line in there. I could alienate myself and others if I express myself without caution. And I don't want to make a move unless it's going to be awesome, right? And there's a bit about perfectionism in there, okay? And the reason I want to talk about this now, today, is also on the back of the last video that I did. So the last video I did spoke about, I was poking, it wasn't really poking, but it was existing in contrast to a lot of the New Age spiritualist kind of ideas around creating, okay? And the result of that is I actually lost a friend. And it was an amicable parting. It was a nice parting. However, it was an ending. And there's some important things there, because when we want to express what we have within us, when we want to bring it forth and we want to create stuff, we want to bring things into being that don't exist yet, that is a disruptive process. And it can be scary. There can be costs to that. That can affect stuff, but it can also affect stuff for the good, for the bad, all the things in between. Now, what creating isn't, I'm making a video right now. This is kind of like low-level creating. But really, what I'm trying to do here is not just become another talking head with opinions about stuff. This isn't about my opinions on creating as such. Sure, this is the kind of tip of the spear, if you like. People are going to find this, people are going to learn about it through social media. This is the ecosystem that we're in. But what's really important is to know is that creating is not a belief system. And that's one of the things I was trying to point to in the last videos. It's not about what you believe. Now, this is heresy in some regards and just so counterintuitive in others in the age that we live in, because everything is saturated in belief, right? It's all about what you believe. You've got to believe you can be focused and healthy and positive, and endless amounts of belief stuff, right? Now, what is the reality here? The reality is that you are you, and you have things to express that you want to express, and you have the opportunity to do that. You have the opportunity to be true to that. Now, you may find that the result of that alienates people. Now, that's a scary prospect. However, the creative process in the work that I do looks at our desires in a number of different layers, right? You've got your kind of instantaneous desires and whims of impulse and appetites and, I want a little bit of that and a little bit of that and, squirrel, right? That's kind of the ADHD level that I've lived in. That's why I so very much wanted to learn how to create, because my baseline, my time horizon is like now. And it's hard. It's really hard to create and organize your life at that level. Now, when you step back and you go into a bit of more of a medium shot, you find yourself in aspirations and values, right? And these are really things that are true to you, that exist beyond the now, things that are in the future, things that you want to work towards. And then there's values, right? And so when you really look at your values that you have for yourself and for the world and for your relationships and for other people, like when you really drill down into that, what you mostly find is that people want to respect other people's freedom to be themselves. And they also want to respect their own freedom to be themselves, okay? Now, when you really accept that, and again, it's not about accepting it. It's not like there's any magic in accepting it. But if that's what it is, if that's the reality, that you are free to be yourself, because you are, and other people are free to be themselves, because they are, then what happens is people are themselves, and what happens, right? But it becomes less about trying to control the outcomes. And it becomes less about, is my expression going to give me the type of return on investment that I want, right? Now, it can be. You can certainly play it like that. There's plenty of ways to be dumb. There's plenty of ways to be dumb in life and kind of shoot yourself in the foot or choose some silly hill to die on and end up kind of screwing yourself up a bit. So this isn't just to be willy-nilly with your whims and end up kind of, legitimately alienating yourself and screwing yourself over, or being so hard-headed or stubborn or whatever that you kind of fuck up all your friendships and relationships. It's not about that. But what it is about is that the reality is you're free to play. You're free to play and you're free to explore. And people are free to like you or not like you. Now, I've, for a long time, been fairly contrarian in a lot of the stuff that I do. Now, I don't do it because I get off on being different or hurting other people or whatever. It just happens to be that the things that I've been interested in and drawn towards tend not to be the things that lots of people are gravitating towards. Or, I've got a slightly different perspective or view on some of the things that's going on. Now, where does that leave us? Where am I at? I made a couple of notes. Okay. So one of the important things with all of this is it actually doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter if I'm spiritual or I'm, or I'm politically active in this way or that way. Creating is philosophically neutral. In the last video, I talked about a Sunday roast, making a Sunday roast on a Monday, right? There's actually not an inherent quality to a roast that means it has to be made on a Sunday. That's part of a ritual and tradition and all of those things. And those are good in their own right, but it's not to do with creating. It has nothing to do with the success of the roast. The success of the roast will come down to how good of a cook you are, the quality of the ingredients, how well you know your way about the kitchen and the timing and all of those things. That's where the thing comes through. And the love, all right? I'm not discounting love as a real element, and what that is, we don't know, but it's there, so there's quality, time, attention, care, love, all of that good stuff. But Sunday, doesn't infer some special quality to it, right? A Muslim can make a great roast dinner, a New Ager can make a great roast dinner, an atheist can make a great roast dinner. The act of creating is not dependent on whatever the person believes, okay? And this is a really important point, because if you want to learn to be a creator, the opportunity in what I do and what I teach and in working with me is to really separate all of your beliefs about the world to just focusing on the creative process itself and getting good and honing your skills in the thing that you want to create. And not having it bogged down by all of this other stuff. That in the friggin' world that we live in today, people, where everyone wants you to have an opinion. Everyone wants you to take a side on one issue or another, this, that, and the third. Like, creating is a fucking oasis outside of that. Creating in the way that I teach it is a fucking oasis. It's just like, it's separate. It's separate to all of that. Now, someone sent me a video recently and they talked about the word simple in that video. And simple and easy, they looked at simple and easy. Oh shit, was it simple? Anyway, I think it was simple. And the root word of simple was about braids. And it was, simple meant only 2 braids or something like this. So there weren't too many things getting woven in together. Now, I think that is just so beautiful. And it really illustrates what the creative process is and what it isn't. The creative process proper is simple. That's not to say it's easy and it takes time to get your head round, but it's simple. Your life can be simple as far as being based in reality as it is right now and working towards bringing things into being that don't exist yet. So you're in the present and you're in the future. It's both of those things. It's not about just being present and letting things through. You know, you have desires, you have wants, they don't exist yet. And it's a lie to say that that is the source of suffering. It's not the source of suffering. That's just the reality. It's a dynamic. Like, hey, I want lunch. Oh, it's 1:10. You know, maybe I can have lunch in whatever. That's not a cause of suffering. I want lunch. It's not time to have lunch now. You know, it's just a dynamic that's at play and you can organize around it. So simplicity is available in the creative process. And it's probably better to think about it in terms of like personal training. If you go to the gym and you get a personal trainer and they're teaching you how to kind of change your body composition and to get strong, you're going to be, it's like what's going to dominate that conversation is not going to be your beliefs, your religion, your, you know, your kind of speculations about the nature of the universe and everything. It's going to be far more focused on that, like how to lift the weight. What's the form? What's the right amount of weight for you to lift to progress? Like, yeah, maybe there'll be a passing comment about like, yeah, visualize your, you know, visualize the body you want. But, and I talk about that sort of stuff. I talk about vision and imagination and focus and the importance of these things. But they're all couched in the creative process as it is, not drawing upon some kind of mystical ideas. Vision is important. Being able to picture what you want is part of the creative process. The artist that can visualize a space before it exists is a better artist than the one who can't, right? But that's a skill in of itself. That's a muscle in and of itself. And the idea often is that there's some kind of magical quality that infuses itself into your things when you just like, you know, close your eyes and think hard enough. It doesn't work like that. It's like, get better at the actual skills of creating, of which that there are many. But know that it's not a philosophical inquiry. This is not like, you're not trying to think about things in the right way. It doesn't matter what you think about. It matters about what you do and how well you do it. There's no one you need to be. It's about the qualities, you know, there's no one you need to be. It's about the attention to detail of what actually needs to take place and your ability to execute on those things. That's what brings things to life. That's what creates stuff. Let me see if there's anything else going on here. So yeah, let me, you know, just to say that thing about being yourself. Like, we live in a world full of manipulation. Like, so much manipulation. People are trying to manipulate you to buy things, tell you that you're going to be a better person if you do things like this or if you do things like that. People think that you're going to be a better person if you succeed rather than you fail. And it's all like, why? Why? You are who you are and you do what you do. And, you know, you're probably doing all right. And yet you're probably engaged in some manipulations. And when you know, if it's part of your values to look at that, then look at that, you know, and sort of withhold on that. Or like, just don't do it. Don't manipulate people if that's not part of your value set, right? And so that goes to allowing people to be who they are. That goes to allowing yourself to be who you are. I mean, you are anyway. So just, do you want to be that? You know, and just to go back to those lines, I guess, like, you know, I don't want to make a move unless it's going to be awesome, like awesome. It's a perfectionist trap that I'm caught in. It's 1 step forward, 10 steps back, and then I dig my claws in. Like, if you want motion and change in your life, then these things, getting really clear on these things, are what is going to allow, is what is going to give rise to those changes that you're seeking. Like, when you get really clear on that base level stuff of like, oh, snap, I get to be myself. And other people get to be themselves too. Then you get to start acting in ways that support whatever the self is, whatever that self of yours has come up with that wants to create, whether it's small stuff, big stuff, silly stuff, quirky stuff, whatever it is, controversial stuff, you know, funny stuff. You get to do all of that because you're free to. And it takes you into a different arena of like, oh, people that hang around like you for you. And people that don't. And that's okay. And you don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. But you don't have to try to ruffle feathers either. You just do what you do. You know, do what you do and let people be as they are. And so this was, you know, it's always a shame when you lose a friend, right? And actually, I'll say that I think the internet is an interesting training ground for the creative spirit because there's a vast amount of people and we're seeking different amounts of overlap and, you know, we're there for a reason, a lifetime or a season. And then suddenly we find out it's just like, you know, oh, wow, they came into my life and they left. And we shared some cool things and, you know, and then we went in different directions. And to really be okay with that, to be okay with that impermanence and to be okay with showing up as you are, letting other people show up as they are and make their decisions while you make yours. And there not be any preemptive defense against all of it. Like, this really is a powerful place to be and a beautiful place to be, a respectful place to be. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the poem. If you're interested about any of this stuff, like, reach out to me. You know, this really is the bread and butter of everything that I'm doing. There's sliding scales of working with me one-on-one, and it's affordable and it's accessible. And I'll tell you, this is fucking rare. It is different from 99% of what else is out there. And I don't say shitty to be offensive there. I just mean it like expletive. Like, I don't see this stuff out there much. It's not common to talk about this stuff in a way that you can learn it here. It's not about, you know, as I say, it's not about the beliefs. It's not about all of the other stuff. It's a quite different kettle of fish. And if you want to, chat to me about it because it's beautiful and it's simple. So 2 strands, people, 2 strands of simplicity. Buenas tardes. Take care. I'll see you next time.